What's up, y'all? It's Ty. In this video today, we're going to be going over ranking each and every one of the auctionable pink diamonds on a tier list, ranking them from S tier all the way down to F tier. Now, if you look at the pink diamonds, and this is just my opinion, there are a couple trash ones, and we'll talk about that, but it's crazy to me. Some of these pink diamonds are also better than all of the galaxy opals that we do have in the game as well. So it's kind of two polar opposites. And that's why I think buying a guy, let's say like Victor Wembanyama, if you can find a way to get the amount of coins, is pretty safe. Because I don't think there's going to be a galaxy opal that comes out that's going to be better than him. So that's just kind of my initial thoughts on this list, or heading into this list. And let's dive into it today. Dr. J, he is literally the best two guard in the game. There is not a shooting guard that's better than Dr. J. There's just not. And it's really that simple, that easy to understand. He's got one of the best releases in the game. His player build is fantastic. There are no flaws with Dr. J. The card does everything on the court at an insanely high level. S tier for Julius Erving. Kevin McHale, I think I'm going to go C tier. He is so mediocre, guys. From his badges to his stats to his release, there's just nothing that really stands out about Kevin McHale, and I kind of said this in yesterday's videos. Like, Jack Sigma just blows Kevin McHale out of the water. He is a C tier. Michael Jordan up next. I don't know, at this stage, D tier maybe. I guess he's probably still better than Kevin McHale. I don't know, though, if he is. Like, both those guys on the court, if you have them, they can play, but neither one of those cards are cards like I'd love to have on the court at this stage. And so it's just one of those things. They're not horrible cards, but they're just not cards that I'm a big fan of. Scottie Pippen up next. He is still really good. I think A tier is the right spot for Pip. Good release, great defense. No, he's not going to be as good as Dr. J, but he's close. He is really, really close. And I feel like at this stage, the price of Scottie Pippen isn't that crazy. I feel like he's went down quite a bit in price as well, which does help you if you just want to use the card. Next up, Artis Gilmore. I don't know, man. He's just too slow. I know he's 7'2", but the card is too slow to run on the court. I think D tier's got to be the right spot for Artis. I'm not just. Obviously, if you really are bad at the game, Artis may be able to help you, but I'm just not a fan of the card. Luka Doncic, B tier maybe. The one thing Luka has going for him is the fact that he is 6'7". Like, his height is obviously really good on the court, but his defensive stats aren't great. His offense isn't as good as it has been in the past because his release is no longer broken. B tier. Kyrie Irving, I'm going to go D tier. I use Kyrie, and I just am not the biggest fan. Like, his release is easy to time, easy to green, but I feel like it's hard to get off. I feel like everything is contested with Kyrie Irving. I'm going D tier. Jason Terry, I don't really like him either. D tier. Like, the problem with Kyrie is they're undersized, and I don't love either releases. Like, they're not cheesy releases. They're fine. They're just not great. Dirk is good on this game. I think I want to go A tier with Dirk. I think maybe B tier. It's just tough. He is better than Kevin McHale, no question, no doubt about it. I just don't necessarily think his defense is perfect. His defense isn't bad, though. For a Dirk card, his defense is actually very good. But the problem is, like, him compared to, let's say, even like a Jaren Jackson Jr. card or even a Jack Sigma card, like, I'd even probably lean Jack Sigma over Dirk. It's probably close, but I just think Sigma gives you that slightly more on the defensive side of the ball. Jokic, I mean, he's not good. I don't know. D tier maybe. The card's just not good whatsoever. Jerry Stackhouse is pretty good. I'm going to go B tier. People will gas Jerry Stackhouse higher. He's not higher than B tier, but he is a B tier shooting guard. He gets stops, really solid defensively, like I mentioned. Offensively, he's going to run to the rim, attack the hoop. But I just feel like, for me, when I look at Jerry Stackhouse, he's just not perfect. I feel like his release leaves something to be desired. You just don't know what to take out of Jerry Stackhouse. He's fine, but the card's not perfect. Like, even him compared to Clay, it's just tough because I feel like Clay at least does something at an elite level, and that's shoot the ball. But I don't think Clay's as complete of a card as Scottie Pippen. And so it does make some things difficult here. I think Clay at B tier is the right tier. I just don't love the fact that he's only at B tier. Next up, KD, Kevin Durant. Look, KD is not that bad, but his stats are not as good as they should be. He's a pink diamond, and I feel like stat-wise, or not even stat-wise, mostly badge-wise, the card's mediocre. What does he come with? 5 Hall of Fame badges? I mean, that to me is the problem with Kevin Durant, is the fact that he only has 5 or so of those Hall of Famers. I think B tier. No, I'm going to go A tier for KD. I do want to say, though, I don't love the card. I wish his stats and badges were slightly better. Steph Curry, D tier. I just don't know if undersized point guards are gonna be it, especially if they don't defend at an elite level. Like, the only undersized point guard that I really like is Chris Paul. Why? It's because he defends at an absolutely elite level. So, and his release is fantastic. I don't know. That's really the only thing that I see. Steph Curry, D tier. Chris Mullin, another tough card. I'm gonna go B tier. I think his release is a little bit on the slower side, but the card isn't bad. I think Chris Mullin can play at a pretty high level. Steve Francis up next, D tier. You're going to see a lot of these point guards be a D tier. I just don't love them. Hakeem Olajuwon, I think you got to go S tier with Hakeem. I just don't know how many better big men that we do have in the game than a guy like Hakeem. He's going to play great defense. His player build's massive. He is going to get you stops. S tier for Hakeem Olajuwon. Paul George, S tier. I do think Dr. J is better than Paul George, but I think if we're being honest with ourselves, both cards are deserving of being S tier. Both cards extremely good options. Jermaine O'Neal, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't get the slander behind Jermaine O'Neal. He's B tier. His speed is good. His defense is good. And look, I don't love his release, but if you leave him wide open, he has the ability to shoot the ball. I'm going B tier for Jermaine O'Neal. I don't care what anybody says in the comments about his release. It might be user error. Like, I know his release is so slow, but the rest of Jermaine O'Neal is good. Lamar Odom up next. He's fine. He's fine. He's not as good as Paolo Banchero, though. And at the end of the day, that's what I always compare Lamar Odom to. He's a small forward, power forward. I just can't hype up the card if Paolo Banchero walks circles around him. Magic Johnson up next. I'm going to go A tier. Look, Magic is a cheese ball. He is 6'9". His release isn't that bad. Offensively, obviously, he's not ideal. But I think Magic is decently tough on this game. And I think more so than anything, it's because of that height, right? If you run him the right way, which is basically use him as a screener offensively, defensively, put him on like a small forward, because he's not a lockdown either. He's just extremely tall. Put him on like a small forward. He's going to play lanes. Offensively, he's going to do what you need him to do on the court. Next up, Ja Morant, another undersized point guard, but I actually like Ja. And I think for Ja, it starts and ends with that release. He has one of the better jump shots at the point guard position in the game. That alone, puts him at the B tier. I don't think he's as good as Magic Johnson, but he is okay. Next up, Jimmy Buckets, Jimmy Butler. I think I want to go A tier. And if you're wondering, Ty, why do you like Jimmy over Mullin? Why do you like him over Clay? I just think defensively he's going to be slightly better. And I'm not hating on anybody at A tier or B tier, but that's just my personal preference. I like defense. And I think Jimmy's going to give me slightly more. Tyler Hero, I'm going to go B tier. And more than anything, he's got the best moving crossover in the game. And that, to me, alone makes Tyler Hero B tier. Like, I know the rest of the card's not great, but the fact that he has that SGA type of moving crossover means he is in B tier. Chris Bosh, I'm going to go C tier. I just don't see it with Chris Bosh. I don't. Even compared to Dirk. Dirk walks circles around Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh, C tier. LeBron James, S tier. The best small forward still to this day in the entire game. I don't care if you have Galaxy Opals. There is no small forward that is better than LeGoat James in this game. It's the way it is. I don't make the rules. LeBron, S tier. Next up, we do see Dwayne Wade. For D-Wade, I don't know. At this stage, B tier. He's still going to be solid defensively. I actually don't mind Dwayne Wade's release. I'm going to go B tier. Damian Lillard up next. For Dame, I don't know, C tier. Like, I still think offensively it gives you more than the guys at D tier. He dunks the ball extremely well. Release-wise is fine. But defensively, he's dog water. C tier for Dame. Giannis Antetokounmpo, S tier. Offensively, he's fine. And like, when I say he's fine, like, people green every shot with Giannis. I don't know how. His three ball is not high. But when I play against Giannis, nobody misses with the card. His player build's fantastic. Defensively, he's going to be a beast. And oh yeah, by the way, he can handle the ball incredibly well. Giannis is S tier. I don't care what anybody says. He is an S tier caliber option. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar up next. Kareem's good. A tier, maybe S tier. I think I'm going to go S tier. It's just, he's 7'2". He's got crazy good speed. He can green the occasional three ball. Kareem is S tier. I'm sorry. He can play power forward as well. He's S tier. Zach LaVine, A tier. at the top of A tier. I don't think he's at, you know, a top 2 point guard in the game, but I think he's close. I think he's knocking on the doorstep of being that top 2 or so point guard in the entire game. KG, Kevin Garnett up next. I'm going to go B tier for Kevin Garnett. No, I'm not. I'm going to go A tier. I'm gassing it. Kevin Garnett, he's just a slightly worse Giannis. That's kind of the way I'd phrase it. I mean, not going to handle the ball as well as Giannis, but overall going to be pretty similar to the card. I don't know why I said B tier first. KG is A tier. Troydan is dirt. F tier. Troydan, and look, it's not because of his release. His release this year actually is not unusable. But it's like, if you're running a 6'5 shooting guard, they better be able to defend at an elite level. And Troydan doesn't do that. I'm not saying he's worthless defensively, but the card isn't great. Troydan F tier. Zion F tier as well. I mean, you're looking at Zion Williamson being 6'6", defensively not ideal. He's not horrible defensively. It's just he's not ideal. He is F tier. And I mean, I think that's a pretty simple answer for me. He's F tier. Shaq up next, the big diesel. C tier. I mean, he's an inside big. I know he's going to compete on the interior, but that's where I got him. Joel Embiid, I owe you an apology. You're S tier. And so it's tough at the center position when all these guys are at S tier, but it's what it's got to be. Joel Embiid can play power forward as well, which definitely does help his case. Moses Malone, I wish your 3-ball was higher. I'm going to go C tier. 3-ball is not super high. Going to be tough to consistently green. C tier. Devin Booker, S tier. One of your better point guards in the entire game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. De'Aaron Fox, not good. His release is good, but the card's not good. Defensively, is not good. Player build's not good. D tier. Victor Wembanyama should be in a tier of his own. S tier. And for this, I'm going to move... No, I'm not going to move Kareem down. I'm just going to have all these bigs at S tier because all these guys are absolutely elite. D-Rob, you're going to go A tier. And it's more of an eye test than anything. I used D-Rob in King of the Court last weekend. And if you guys want to say, Ty, you don't know what you're talking about, just go watch my 4-hour stream and let me know what D-Rob does better than Tim Duncan on the court. And I'm saying he's better than Tim Duncan. But for me, it's like he was just mid. He didn't rebound the ball that well. And I even had some with extra Hall of Famers. I didn't shoot well with him. He was just not great. Gary Payton going to play great defense, B tier. Pascal Siakam, Spicy B. Look, he's somewhat undersized, but he gives you a lot on the court. I do think C tier is probably the right spot just because he is undersized at this stage of the game for Spicy P. Kawhi Leonard, man, it's tough. I think I got to throw him at S tier. I don't love... Look... The problem with this is Paul George is better and Bron is better. So I'm going to put Kawhi at A tier. I love Kawhi. Kawhi is probably my favorite player at A tier. But if I'm going to do this with centers, look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And you guys are not going to like this, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to move some of these bigs. No, I'm not going to move them down. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to do this. Because I don't like the fact that I just have Victor Wembanyama. No, you know what? I don't know what I want to do here. I don't know what I want to do because it's like, I feel like I got to do this. I'm just going to stick to my guns. I got to do this, and I'm going to move Kawhi up. I like Kawhi. Look, I know offensively he's somewhat limited, but defensively he's a menace. His release is so smooth, so chick. I'm going to put him at S tier. Might divide the community. That's where I've got him. Karl Malone up next. 1 tier higher than Siakam, I think, is a fair place for Karl Malone. Gonna green shots, gonna play solid defense, B tier. Adrian Dantley, you are F tier, the worst pink diamond in the entire game. Tracy McGrady, at this stage, you're 6'8", but you're gonna go in B tier. And I like T-Mac. Jimmy Butler's better. Scottie Pippen's better. KD is better. He's the level of like a Chris Mullin, Klay Thompson. Tyrese Halliburton, I don't love you, but you are C tier. You're a fine point guard that you can run. You're not as good as Gary Payton or Dwayne Wade, though. You're just not. Last but certainly not least, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You are S tier. Our last player at S tier. It's crazy. We have a lot of players at S tier, but when I'm looking at the pink diamonds here, I think each and every one of these players does deserve to be there. Let me know your thoughts on my pink diamond tier list down below in the comments. I know there's going to be some people that are mad at my A tier that some of these guys aren't at S tier, but at the end of the day, a lot of the difference between A tier and S tier is personal preference. For example, you can like a KD more than a Kawhi Leonard. You can like a D-Rob more than a Kareem. And so it really is personal preference when it does get to that top level. That's going to wrap it up, guys. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you are new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.